Hello. Today we're discussing Parshah Vayigash. As you remember, in the previous Parsha, we finished up basically with Joseph, who is viceroy of Egypt, accusing Benjamin of stealing his silver magic cup. And now this is the moment when Judah, the fourth of the sons of Leah, approaches Joseph to plead for release of Benjamin. And he is actually offering himself as a slave to this Egyptian ruler, whom he does not recognize as his brother. So that's his perception. He is facing the Egyptian force, the Egyptian authority, which has got the powers of life and death over him and over all his brothers and the whole family. That's his perception. And he offers himself to Joseph as a slave instead of Benjamin. And he basically pleads with Joseph that he cannot go back without Benjamin because that will kill his father. And he is basically demonstrating incredible level of loyalty to the family, to Benjamin, as a matter of fact, unlike what it was when he basically was the instigator of the idea that instead of killing Joseph, let's sell him into slavery. So, seeing all of this, Joseph releases his identity, reveals his identity, I should say, to them, and he declares, Ani Joseph, I am Joseph, and is my father still alive? Because he wasn't sure, maybe they are lying about Yaakov and this and that. So you can imagine the brothers which were totally overcome with emotions and the shame, remorse, disbelief. They were totally lost at this very moment. You know, I don't believe any of Shakespearean's dramas or tragedies can equal this kind of a moment of emotional turmoil which people experienced. And Joseph comforts them, and he basically tells them that it was not you who sent me into slavery, sent me here. It was God. And it was God's rule that I should be here in order to fulfill my purpose and to save the entire region from the famine. We will come to that in a few minutes. The brothers naturally rush back on the orders of Joseph and the Pharaoh to Canaan with the news to their father. And Jacob eventually comes. Initially he doesn't believe all of this, but it's a long story there. However, Jacob comes to Egypt with his sons and his whole family. The immediate Jacob's descendants count, which excludes the descendants by marriage, is 70 souls. 70 people were directly descendants of Jacob. That means children and grandchildren, direct descendants of Jacob. Jacob is reunited with Joseph after 22 years. On his way to Egypt, he receives the divine promise of Hashem, and Hashem says to him the following words: "Fear not to go down to Egypt, for I will there make of you a great nation. I will go down with you into Egypt, and I will also surely bring you up again." These are very powerful words, and they are as relevant today as they were relevant then. Joseph gathers the wealth of Egypt by selling food and seed during the famine, And Pharaoh gives Jacob's family the fertile county of Goshen to settle in, and the children of Israel prosper in their Egyptian exile and multiply considerably. And that's basically, and in the end, the Parsha lists all the direct descendants of Yaakov who came to Egypt and all of their descendants, etc., etc., etc. And that's the end of the Parsha. Now, the fundamental question which comes up immediately as soon as you see all this dramatic situation between Joseph and his brothers, and basically the truth of the matter is that Judah's approach to Joseph was not very polite. He actually, in his polite words, hidden a lot of threats, because he says to Joseph, you remember what happened when the Pharaoh took over Sarah, our grandmother, and everybody got sick, and only as a result of Sarah's and Abraham's prayers, you guys survived. So he's threatening Joseph without understanding that this is his brother. Because in front of him, the reality is, this is the viceroy of Egypt, the second in command in Egypt. This is the Pharaoh, or Pharaoh's representative. The evil inclination. That's the way he perceives Joseph. And basically, the truth is, the Midrash is telling us that he already, when he was talking to Joseph at the same time, or just a few minutes prior to that, he sent Naphtali, who was running fast as a gazelle, around all of Egypt to count how many counties there. And he came back and he told them that there are 12. And he already said to the brothers that if we don't get an agreement with this evil man, I will destroy 3 counties and you will destroy 9, 1 each. Now, and the truth of the matter is, the power of God was with them. They were the sons of Yaakov, and they, in literal terms, they were capable of doing that, to basically to start World War straight away there, and for surely with God's help prevail. Joseph knew that. The truth of the matter is, it's not only Joseph's emotions seeing, which is the pshat level. Joseph felt the remorse of the brothers. He saw that they are no longer the same callous people which they were when they sold him into slavery. But at the same time, Joseph knew very well the capability of his brothers. And he knew, unless he reveals his identity right now and pacifies them, these guys represent a real serious threat to the whole state of Mitzrayim, the whole state of Egypt. So this was the actual underlying scenario taking place right there in front of us when you're reading about it. But look at the whole situation of perceptions. The brothers' perception was of an evil man. They saw in front of them Pharaoh, the Satan, the evil inclination. Because remember, they all knew Torah. They were all connected to Hashem. They all had prophetic powers. So this is what they saw. Joseph, on the other hand, masterfully played the whole scenario and the way he conducted himself in order to bring the brothers into the same situation, and so that they will face exactly the same choices as they faced when they sold him into slavery. The choice of going home and leaving Benjamin behind, which was exactly what happened to him, right? Or standing up and be counted and trying to prevent the demise of their younger brother. And obviously, Judah, as well as the brothers who were silent partners to all of this, he passes that test with flying colors. So Joseph when he reveals himself, there is a number of layers of why the revelation took place so quickly when Judah started talking, as well as it demonstrates to us the ongoing contradiction between approach to life, which I did touch on that in the previous Parsha. The approach to life by the brothers, which they were saying, we will not interact with the outside world. We will study Torah, we will do our prayers, we will provide our spiritual connection to Hashem. But their level of preparedness in terms of sharing that connection with the other nations was very limited. So you can sit in the yeshiva and you study, and you can have a synagogue where people coming over who wants to come over and they study, but they do not interact with the outside world. Joseph's approach, however, as I was saying previously, is to interact with the outside world and try to elevate it to the level of Kedusha, to the level of saintliness, to provide the alternative information to this physicality of the Edom, of the physical world, of the Satan, basically. Because what is Satan? What is Satan? Satan is not the guy, the red guy with the horns and all of this jazz. No. As far as if you go deep into Hebrew, you will realize that Satan is confusion, is masquerading, is diverting people from the straight path. That's what Satan is all about. That's what Hashem is trying to tell us. He is hiding from us, and everything what we do is a test, like it is in this situation. But in reality, yes, we need to overcome all of those evil inclinations. Because when you look at what is Torah Chaim, that's what our Torah is called. Torah is not only commandments. Torah is a guide, Chaim, life, my name, yeah. Torah of life, guide to life. And this is what Torah does. It's our guide to life from Hashem. And what is this situation between the brothers, as well as the follow-on scenario when Yaakov is coming over to Egypt, but prior to his arrival, he sends Judah to Goshen to basically to set up all the Jewish communal facilities, buildings, yeshivot, hospitals, schools, to create a Jewish infrastructure in Goshen prior to his and all his people arrival to Egypt. Why? Because this is the ultimate necessity for all of us. Because in the end of the day, when we coming down to Egypt, which is what is happening and which is absolutely necessary as far as Hashem is concerned, for us to be gently tenderized, basically, by the difficulties of life. And this is what is happening to every one of us individually, as well as communally for the whole nation of Israel. We are being gently tenderized by the adversities of life. Now, in order not to get bogged down in the physicality, which is what the brothers were objecting to, because they were highlighting the danger of being bogged down in physicality when you interact, when you go to work, you work with people which of other spiritual persuasions or no persuasions at all, people who claim themselves that they don't believe in God at all. They are called so-called atheists, which is to me a form of religion into the physicality. In terms, if I can touch it, I believe it. If I cannot touch it, it doesn't exist, which is a very limited and very simplistic approach to life. And this is what this is all about. Now, when just imagine, in order for us to understand this, I will give you one little allegory. And this is how we hopefully will understand what this whole debate between the brothers in Joseph is all about, and its relevance to us today more than ever. Just imagine a spaceship takes off from Cape Kennedy or Cape Canaveral, whatever it is, they're putting spaceships into the space. And it flies to one of the Alpha Centauri, star, wherever it is it goes. And a generation of people goes into this spaceship. Now, when this actually has taken place, the Rebbe was asked the question, how does this affect us and what this is all about? And Rebbe's explanation was actually very interesting for us and very relevant to this very parsha. Because the Rebbe said, okay, the generation goes in and their purpose is to procreate and multiply. Because if the ship reaches the destination and everybody is dead by that time, huge distance, lots of years to fly, it's not much of a purpose. So it means that they must procreate and produce the next generation, which they must tell the next generation about planet Earth and how they were launched into space and what is their purpose and how they need to reach this new star and to find out what's going on in there and whatever their plan is. And this is going on from generation to generation. So a number of generations are born on this ship, spend all their life on this ship and die on this ship. So for them, nothing else exists. For them, Earth and life on a planet is something illusory, something which may or may not have taken place. And this is why a set of beliefs and facilities which facilitate that belief, which maintain their memory of future generations of what has been going on, how this whole story has started, is absolutely and ultimately important. And this is why this is so important to us today, to remember who we are, what we are, and how important is our existence, our Jewish souls, our Jewish hearts, our Jewish memories to the future of all of this planet. Because we are the only ones who were given this special spark of God which sits in us. And that's why our behavior on daily basis, in everything, as soon as we're wearing this kippah on us and people can immediately recognize that this is a Jew, that puts on us a lot of responsibilities of how we behave, how honorably we behave or dishonorably, what we do and what we say. When you're wearing a kippah, if you spit on the street, the person will say, no, this hoodlum spat on the street. No. They will say, this Jew spits on the street. If you're misbehaving in financial terms or terms of credibility, or you misbehave, maybe not, but you finished up on the front page of the newspaper with negative news, the other nations will say, you see how those Jews misbehave? You see what they do? They lie, they cheat, and this is what facilitates anti-Semitism. Why? Why Hashem allows anti-Semitism? Because this is what we need. This is the stick for us to get united, and to remember that whatever we do, we must behave in an honorable way. Remember that we are part of God. We are part of godliness. And our behavior must be beyond reproach, beyond any chance of being accused of dishonorable behavior. And only when we do that, this is when we serve God really very well. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and I will see you in the next Parsha.